Systemic lupus erythematosus is one of the more complicated autoimmune disorders. One of the things that makes lupus unique is its variety of symptoms. It affects many body systems, whole person wide, and is incredibly complex. Signs and symptoms do vary dramatically from person to person, individuals to race, whatever it may be. They vary, and so there's not one set of symptoms that can be used to characterize it. Typically, it will include a butterfly-shaped rash on the face, also known as erythema, which you might recognize in the title of the disease, and it is characterized by inflammation flare-ups of all body systems. It's complicated because symptoms commonly mimic those of other disorders, from mouth and nose ulcers, aches and pains, joint pain like arthritis, fatigue, appetite sensitivities, photosensitivity, as well as inflammation of the pleura or pleuritis, and also pericarditis, and symptoms of Raynaud's disease, which is when your fingers and toes have poor circulation. It also can affect the liver and kidneys in very negative ways. Lupus is a rare disease partially because it has no single known cause. Scientists have been unable to pinpoint any reason in particular why people have it. And with its symptoms being so varied, it's just really complicated because it is affected by genetic and environmental causes. With regards to genetics, women are more likely to get it. 9 out of 10 people diagnosed are women. And women of color are 2 to 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with it. As far as environmental factors go, scientists believe that some people are born with a natural tendency that can be triggered by things such as infection, sunlight exposure, certain exposure to drugs, and also there's a known connection to carcinogens such as silica and things like that that can occur in more industrial applications. One of the things I find particularly terrifying about it is that living in poverty doubles your mortality rate for lupus if you're diagnosed with it. To add insult to injury, not only are there a million symptoms for lupus, but there is also not a test for it. Generally, people come to a physician with symptoms, and then the doctors usually prescribe some tests to figure out what's going on with them, and through a series of tests can determine whether or not they have lupus. Those testing options include doing a complete blood count, erythrocyte sedimentation rate tests, which is actually super cool. It's about how long it takes your erythrocytes to settle out of your blood content, urinalysis, kidney and liver assessments, anti-nuclear antibody tests, chest x-rays, echocardiograms, and a kidney biopsy. So as you can see, it's pretty varied and widely distributed testing regimen for this disease. Just as there is no known cause for lupus and no single one diagnostic test, there is also no cure. Once you're diagnosed with it, you have it for life, and all you can do is manage your symptoms. There are medications that can be used to help with those symptoms, such as NSAIDs, immunosuppressants, anti-malarial drugs, which you guys would probably recognize as hydroxychloroquine, corticosteroids, biologics, and monoclonal antibodies. Some of these we've discussed in class as chemotherapy drugs. Lifestyle adjustments can be made to reduce the symptoms as well. In general, anything that reduces stress or promotes a healthy lifestyle is helpful, such as getting exercise, sleeping well, not eating poorly, don't smoke, don't drink, and here's the weird one for you. Don't expose yourself to sunlight. When I was a child, I had a family member with lupus, and I never understood why she always wore long pants and long sleeve shirts on hot summer days until I started to do research on lupus. It's always been a disease that fascinates me. And with that, we'll move to my next slide. Here are some not so fun facts about lupus. 1 out of 4 people diagnosed in the US are on a government-sponsored healthcare plan, and the average time from development of symptoms to diagnosis is 6 years, which is a really long time to have symptoms and not know an answer of what is wrong with you. The majority of case studies regarding lupus have been conducted in the US specifically on Caucasian women, and women of color experience completely different symptoms. So there's a major disconnect there in a lot of places, and I've always found it fascinating, especially because 1.5 million people in the US have it. So I don't know why we don't have more information about it, and it shouldn't take doctors 6 years to diagnose something like this, but I honestly think a lot of people just don't have enough knowledge about autoimmune disorders and how they work to really be able to help people who have them. And here's my references. I don't expect you to read them all, but they are present.